So you're moving to LA. It's stressful enough, right? But wait until you find out that just getting your water turned on means navigating this sprawling, multi-jurisdictional web of different providers. It's not just one big company. Welcome to the ultimate explainer on conquering the notoriously complex Los Angeles water setup process. Look, whether you're brand new to the city or just moving a few zip codes over, getting your utilities up and running is priority number one. But in a city this massive, getting the water flowing is definitely a bit more involved than just flipping a switch.
You might think it's easy, but honestly, depending on exactly where your property line falls in this giant grid, your whole experience, your rates, your setup process, it can look entirely different from your neighbors. It's a huge headache. But hey, that's exactly what we're going to solve for you right now. We're mapping the whole thing out so you can get your service set up with absolute zero friction.
Here's our roadmap for today. First, finding your provider, then the application process, fees and deposits, navigating those rates, troubleshooting, and finally, maintenance and tips. Let's dive right in.
Section 1. Finding your provider.
Okay, so our absolute first crucial step is figuring out who actually controls the water for your specific address. Now, you might just assume it's all handled by the city, right? Well, actually, that's a super common rookie mistake. If you live within the actual city of Los Angeles limits, so think places like Venice, Hollywood, or San Pedro, you belong to the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power, or LADW. But if you're out in an unincorporated county region, say Malibu or the Antelope Valley, you're mostly dealing with the Los Angeles County Waterworks districts, and that's overseen by County Public Works. And then, just to keep things interesting, there are private investor-owned utilities, companies like Cal Water in East LA and Bell, or Golden State Water. So the big takeaway here? Always verify your provider based on your exact address before you even think about starting the paperwork.
Section 2. The application process.
All right, so once you've pinned down your provider, and let's be real, for most of you in the city proper, that's going to be LADWP. It's time to get your documents together. You're going to need the basics: your full legal name, your date of birth, a government-issued ID like a driver's license, and your social security number. But the absolutely most critical piece of the puzzle is your proof of tenancy or ownership. If you just bought a house, you need your grant deed ready to go. Renting? Have that lease handy. I cannot stress this enough. Having this exact paperwork literally physically in front of you before you contact them is the absolute best way to avoid annoying application delays.
So, how should you actually apply? Well, for straightforward residential setups, especially if you're a tenant, hopping on their online portal is by far the fastest route. Just click and you're done. But if your situation is a bit more complex, maybe the property is owned by an LLC or a trust, or you're running into weird identity verification issues, you're going to want to call them or just go in person. LADWP actually has multiple customer service centers scattered around the city, and they're even opening a brand new spot in San Pedro in June 2026 just to help handle this in-person demand.
Okay, so after you submit that request and verify your docs, which, by the way, you can totally do over the phone at 1-800-DIAL-DWB, you'll get to pick a start date. Normally, standard water service activation takes about 1 to 3 business days. Easy enough. But keep in mind, if the property has been vacant and physically disconnected from the water main for a long time, it can actually take up to 5 business days to get a crew out there to do a physical reconnection. So definitely plan ahead.
Moving on to Section 3, fees and deposits. Now we've got to talk about the stuff that frustrates new residents the most: the setup costs. Right off the bat, expect a standard, non-refundable $19 turn-on fee to show up on your opening bill. This is just a regulated tariff. It's there to cover the basic administrative setup and the cost of dispatching someone to the field. It's a small fee, sure, but it is completely standard every single time you start or transfer a service.
But hey, here is a true insider hack straight from the utility's own rulebook. The LADWP's Customer Bill of Rights actually guarantees that if they miss their one-day processing window for a standard residential request, they are legally required to waive that $19 fee. No joke. So always track your start date. If they're late, you hold them to their own policy.
All right, now let's talk about the dreaded security deposits. This part can feel incredibly unfair. Homeowners with excellent credit often report being hit with unexpected, mandatory security deposits of $200, $300, or even more, literally just to get the water turned on. Like this person mentioned, they know you don't really have other options.
So why does this happen? Well, the utilities run a soft credit check using your social security number to figure out your risk level. Since the utilities is essentially a nonprofit that has to eat the cost when people move away without paying their bills, they rely really heavily on these deposits as a safety net.
But here's the thing, identity mismatch errors are incredibly common. If your SSN or the way your name is formatted doesn't perfectly match their background check, the system just defaults to a high-risk deposit. So if you get hit with a surprise fee and you know for a fact your credit is solid, do not just blindly pay it. Pick up the phone, call customer service, and challenge that identity verification immediately. A lot of the time, just proving who you actually are will get that deposit completely waived.
Section 4. Navigating rates.
Okay, your water is flowing. Now you really need to understand exactly how you're being charged for every single drop, because the whole billing structure is essentially designed to punish overconsumption. Inside the city, residential customers are billed on a 4-tier Schedule A rate structure. This is based on hundreds of cubic feet, or HCF, which translates to about 748 gallons. As you'll see, the moment you use more than your Tier 1 baseline allowance, the cost per unit jumps significantly. It's a very deliberate conservation tactic.
Now keep in mind your baseline water allocations and those overall rates, they aren't just static all year round. They adjust depending on whether you're in the high-use summer season, which runs from June 1st all the way to September 30th, or the low-use winter season. On top of that, your tier sizes are actually impacted by your specific lot size and temperature zone. So 2 identical houses in different parts of LA might have completely different Tier 1 caps. Figuring out what zone you're in is absolutely key to avoiding those nasty surprise bills.
Section 5. Troubleshooting.
So what happens when things go sideways? Because let's be honest, when you own or rent a property, water emergencies are always a matter of when, not if. If you wake up to a sudden pipe burst or a massive leak flooding your front yard, you have to act fast. But you also need to know exactly who is responsible for the fix so you aren't wasting precious time yelling at the wrong people.
Look, if you've got a leak gushing and you can't shut off the main valve yourself, call the utility immediately. Again, that's 1-800-DIAL-DWP for LAWP, and they will come turn off the water right at the street level. But, and this is a huge but, the utility does not fix private property leaks. That is entirely on you and your plumber. But hey, there is some good news here. Once you do get an underground leak repaired, you can actually apply for a billing adjustment. That way you aren't completely financially ruined by all that wasted water on your next statement.
Section 6. Maintenance and tips. Finally, let's talk about keeping your account in good standing. You absolutely want to avoid late payments, which carry a genuinely steep 18% annual late charge, and yes, that is computed daily. The absolute easiest way to dodge this is to just log into the online portal and set up autopay. And while you're in there, do yourself a favor and use the Analyze My Usage tool. It gives you these great historical charts so you can easily see if you're creeping up into those expensive higher tiers. Oh, and one last very important thing. If you ever face financial hardship, do not just ignore the bill. Call them. They have programs like EasySave and Lifeline that are specifically designed to protect vulnerable customers from having their water disconnected.
Just a quick disclaimer before we wrap up. While this explainer gives you the best strategies based on current utility rules, you should always double-check the latest requirements, rates, and policies directly with your specific LA water provider. Things like municipal codes and tariffs can and definitely do change over time.
All right, with this bureaucratic map in hand, you are totally ready to conquer the LA water grid. Navigating local bureaucracy can be incredibly tough, but understanding the system is your best defense. So what do you think? Does knowing how these tiers and deposits work change how you view the city's infrastructure? Let us know down in the comments. And please hit that subscribe button for more essential step-by-step explainers just like this one. Thanks so much for tuning in and enjoy the water.